Monkey is me, growing up in Mexico City. Had a wonderful childhood in Mexico City. I came to the United States to finish my high school, and right after high school I was drafted, and I joined the Navy. I was sent to Vietnam and had a brief stint in Vietnam. I was a conscientious objector, and I went through a process, not necessarily a trial, but I was given an honorable discharge. From there, I went back to Mexico City. There was a student massacre, and so I came back to the United States, and I ended up in Wichita Falls, Texas, where something I didn't mention, my mother is Mexican, and when I went to Wichita Falls, there was a lot of racism. This was 1969, 68, 69. There was a lot of racism. People found out my mother was Mexican, and they found out that I was a pacifist or a conscientious objector, that I was against the Vietnam War, and I was threatened pretty much every day for almost a year. But then I went to Chicago. I don't have Chicago represented here. Worked as an artist, freelance artist. Went back to Mexico. Lived in Chiapas, and Oaxaca, and Guanajuato. Sometime in Mexico City. And then I moved from the south of Mexico to the border in Ciudad Juarez, which is right across the river from El Paso, Texas. And it was a very creative time. There were a lot of wonderful and beautiful things, but there were also an overabundance of predators on the border. Oh, yeah. And they take all shapes and forms. And this is pretty much my life up until about 2 months ago. On the border, Juarez and El Paso. My artwork has carried me through, has given me strength, and my mother, my stepfather were both artists, and they instilled that love of beauty, of painting and representing it. But this represents where I am right now. And
where are you now?
This is me. We've got the Oregon Mountains.
The Oregon Mountains.
My wife, things didn't work out. I became a road runner, running from relationships and obligations and stuff like that. And the dragon represent all the battles I had to represent, fight in the world, you know. And that happened for many years until I got here. I need to get some more pieces.
That's fine. That's fine.
But anyway, the dragon represents where I'm at today, trying to overcome all the things that are the past, which are influencing my life.
Okay. We'll leave the story right there.
Okay.
And then while we're going around, you can...
But this time I have a small platform. I have no mountain to climb anymore. So this is my small dragon, and my dragon, I'm putting him to the side because I don't need any more dragons to slay.
Gotcha.
So now, here I am, the road runner. I had a chance to deal with horses. Horses threw me. I don't mess with horses anymore.
Okay.
I like greenery, but I'm in the desert. And so I became an armadillo when I came this way, but I'm still a road runner, right? Because, say, the armadillo is a tricky character, you know. He can burrow in the ground, and his scale is hard, so, you know, ain't much can bother me. So after I finished, left him alone, then I came back looking at the world. And in the world I seen a scorpion, and this one over here. Now this here will represent the scale. And in my understanding, back during the old days, the scale was represented as a temple.
Okay.
And say in Scorpio, the scorpion was represented as a sign of evil.
Sign of evil. Okay.
Right. And so, you know, so then my focus became again at the world. And that's been still running I come to one of the saints. And in the saints, I find that all creatures are in harmony with what I'm looking for. So right now, I'm stagnant at that. All this is back here, right?
Right.
But I'm bringing it back here, and then I'm
I
gonna
couldn't find
turn
it.
around, and this
plus
and
all I
this
do is
gonna
talk
move
to
here.
And who, what are these
This kinda,
characters?
Okay.
represents my brother in the fact
This is
that he
Febna.
wants me to go to the east.
Oh, Febna again.
Yeah,
Is that a baby?
Febna is appearing in
yeah. And
many of the
this
sandboxes.
here is my saint. Okay. And the reason I had him here, and I'm moving forward, I'm now never gonna abandon him. Okay, but these here represent
Pass me
all my past.
the
Right?
recorder. Thank you.
Now these here represent my past of the all the harmony of the animals and everything and people that I've met. And as I look back on it, I can see where I came from and what I went through. Because say, in making who I am, say, when I was younger, I had a weak heart. I couldn't hit nobody not unless I cried. So when I look back on this here, so I'm finna turn all this loose, my father tried to make me stronger by making me eat in the outhouse.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So all this stuff here is looking and turning my back, and now I'm back looking at the world and the problems of the world and how can I be a benefit instead of a hazard.
All right.
So now since I'm seeing the world, the Jeep become my vehicle, the military, VA, and all the stuff that I did here when I joined out here at the camp. Got me in the camp, and the camp, you know, I became a baby again, and looking at the world all new and want to help people. But as everything become new and I try to help everyone in the camp, I also kept my eyes on my saint. And Febna represents commitment. No, you know what I'll say. When I say commitment, say, as being a role, I'm never committed to anything. You know, really, you know, I go from church here to there.
Okay.
And so these two are being commitment and my saint are stable blocks right now. It's not finished yet.
I was just a very young child. They forgot me at a circus, and I think this was the first thing that I had ever seen that was so fascinating. You know, they had him there in a cage. It was a gorilla, and I was a child. And I just look at him like I even said some words to it. You know, like I didn't know it couldn't talk. And anyway, I wandered throughout the night, lost. So it was later that early morning they called the authorities and they found me. But so it was like a skid row, you know, hung out with gangs and stuff like that. I'd call them pachucos and cholos.
How old were you then?
I was about 12.
12. Already. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I would deliver structured here. It was, and I was in a hospital for a while, about 6 months in a coma in Providence Memorial Hospital in El Paso.
Okay.
And I guess I managed to come back, and then I kind of like went out on my own, like Hunchback of Notre Dame. And I drifted to the northwest. My sister married a Rice. He worked at Oregon State Penitentiary, and they have a family up there. And that's where I was such in a poverty thing. I joined the army, and then I was in the army for a training in Fort Polk, Louisiana,
Mm-hmm.
and that was very, very challenging.
I've heard about it.
Yeah, and This is a cheetah cat, and I guess you're aware of how fast the cat can run. Mm-hmm. Well, running became a very very integral part of my life, and during my teenage years, and even at the time I attempted to attend college in Silver City, I was very much into running. And in 1984, I ran the Boston Marathon.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
This is after being in the hospital and everything.
Yeah.
You came back from...
Yeah, the reason why I'm using this running is because this running was like a therapy, an alternative to what could have been, when you're idle and you're hurt, it could be kind of disastrous, like suicide.
Yeah. Well, this is a good point in your story where you're bringing some strength out.
Yeah, no, so, I got into, I ran about 7 marathons in Tucson. I ran Eugene, Portland, Phoenix, Scottsdale.
Wow. You are a runner.
Yeah, El Paso International Run, Nike International, Albuquerque. Here, I ran Beta Pass many times. I even placed first in my age group.
Wow.
Good.
Yeah, so
I've walked up Baylor Pass. And that's...
As far as pets, all my dogs got killed on the road, but cats, I had this one cat that lived for a few years. So this is my father. He was always operating at a restaurant, and he was always the chief, the manager. And that's my mother. She was working with him for a little bit till they got a divorce. So then I grew up and I joined the Army, where I had a new truck. And so here I am in the Army, and I came to the desert with the palm trees. And they gave me a nice shiny M16. Actually, it was black. So then I got out of the Army, and I went over here and worked with my father for a few years, on and off. And then I'd come back to the desert, and I went back and forth. And then eventually I ended up in the homeless camp over here. And so these are my homeless buddies. And while I was in the homeless camp, I acquired a dog and a girlfriend. And the girlfriend brought me to Las Cruces, which I don't have a representation for. And then we broke up. So now my plan, I've got a power tower, and I'm going to build some muscle, and I'm going to marry a beautiful, rich woman.
What's the power tower?
There's no representation.
Okay,
but
that's
Where's
okay.
the muscle, huh?
we see the result of the power tower. So I'm going to get really muscled up. And so all you rich women, be ready. Here pretty soon, I'm going to be, on the market. All right, thank you.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
I'm still landlocked in the desert because I've become so acclimated to the desert that I could never live where I come from. So my dog is matured and now is a fat companion.
Might be pregnant.
So, I've moved on, and now I've lived pretty much the longest I've ever lived in one place here. And I've got 3 Tai Chi students, Chipper, Febna, and Michael. And so I've taken an interest in the evil Monsanto and his genetically organized...
Why did you make me a pink horse?
I didn't know why until just a moment ago. I was wondering why I did that until just a moment ago.
Okay, fine.
And it was all so clear to me. It was all so clear to me. So, well, actually, the reason I made you a pink horse is because you're pretty, but you're kind of magical. You pop in and out, here lately.
Are you trying to get your way out of this mess? I thought these two look really macho, and I'm this floofy horse.
Yeah,
No, I'm just joking. I'm just kidding.
So I've gotten interested in the Monsanto Corporation, and they're genetically modified crops. So I'm going to try to learn more about them and make fun of them. And I've gotten interested in politics and the mythical lying creatures that inhabit the House of Representatives and the Senate. And I'm studying them and what they're up to. And like I said, I'm going to try to get in a lot better shape so I can capture a rich woman. But if I don't get the rich one, at least I'll be in good shape. Yep, that's where I'm at. Helicopters. I've got several RC helicopters, and I, in true addictive fashion, spend all my money on them. And I'll save money to buy a helicopter, but nothing else. So I'm going to try to make a business being an on-the-spot hobby shop. So I go out to where the people are, and I'm offering, you can have it now. You pay more, but you get it now. And so that's where I'm at.
You intend to buy a real one?
No. I'm gonna stay with RC because RC are a lot cheaper, and you don't need a license.
Huh?
The homeless people I lived with, my army buddies, my family, are kind of faded into memory because I don't see them much often.
What do you see as different about this way you've done the storytelling versus
Okay,
the
now
last way?
this is my position of sanctuary and power.
Okay.
You know, and although I am landlocked, you know, I couldn't survive in another climate. Maybe if I went up to a colder climate, but I couldn't stand. So now this is where I live, you know, and I've got my faithful Tai Chi students, and I got my hobbies. I've got my passion to expose the evil Monsanto and his goons in the Senate and the House of Representatives, who are mythical lying creatures.
Yeah.
And then I have my goals, and my motivation is this mythical Barbie doll that I may or may not find, but I want to recapture some of my strength and, you know, get in shape before I get old.
He was McGilla Gorilla when I was a kid. There you go. So, figured I'd use the gorilla for that. It's my mom, without fire coming out of her nose. And this is the closest to my sister. Evil, horrible person. This is my father. And unfortunately we're separated by distance when I was a kid, so this is the trees of New Hampshire that he lived in. I don't even know where to go from there. This right here is from my love growing up of cars, working on them pretty much my whole life, learning about them, going to school for them. This right here, I threw that in just because the people I used to hang out with for a while were kind of in trouble all the time, on the wrong side of the law, so I was always surrounded by law of some sort. Then over here, I joined the army and ended up going to Iraq. This is me here, bent over with a busted back, best I could come up with. And then, you know, I dealt with the army for a long time. It didn't really suit me well, but I stuck with it as long as I could until the end came, when I could no longer be in the army because I yelled at my commander for being a jerk. And then I move on here, I guess.
What does that represent?
Well, unfortunately there's no bobcat, but bobcats are solo hunters, and that's kind of the way that I am right now, just looking out for myself, making sure that my future is where it needs to be without anyone else intruding, which is why there's no one else around and no one else to have to support to create a larger burden until I can.
That's a Cheeto.
I'm going currently in, you know, the construction stages of leaving all the bad and evil things that I've dealt with in my life behind me and getting away from them, which is where I am now. You know,
Okay.
it's pretty hard to get further away than halfway across the United States.
Is this character you here?
Yes.
Okay.
On my way to hopefully a beautiful future,
All right.
which is why I picked all these.
And who is this character here?
Just someone there to meet me at the end. Don't know who yet, but
good. And anything about these characters?
No, they're just like, for one thing, I've always loved nature, so nature to me is beautiful. Trees, animals, no matter, people think bears and lions are big and scary and evil, but they're part of nature and they're supposed to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you?
And the doll in there.
That's very.
Let's bring all the
Fedna, stay right where you were.
Hey, bring all the representations of Fedna.
Bring them all together.
Oh yeah, this one.
Yeah. Who was Fedna in this one?
This is ridiculous. I don't even look at. Here.
We got another Febnik.
Yeah, there's.
Thanks. Thanks, John.
Put them all in the box, Fedna.
Okay.
It is the Legion of Fednas.
Yeah, right here.
She doesn't want to put that one in the box.
No, oh, this one. Well, if I could change anything, it would just show a heart, which has every one of their face in there, because these people mean a lot to me. Even though I'm laughing, it just means a lot to me.